Hello, I'm Julia Cordova. Thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel and liking my videos. I really appreciate it. So it's Saturday evening and I'm recording this video a little bit early. So folks who subscribe to my newsletter, I'll put the link down below in the description. You can have the charts and the pivots in front of you and you can watch this video at your leisure on Sunday or whenever you'd like. And then for folks who don't, I will make this video public on Tuesday evening and I will try to make it a premiere. So that means I can be here live when the video premieres and answer any questions you might have. We can talk about where we are midweek, and I'm really looking forward to that. So let's try it. Let's see how it goes. Now for this week, I am thinking that potentially we will get a downward thrust to start the week. So I'll talk about where I'm going to take the rest of my profits from the shorts that I started last week. And I'll talk about also where I'm considering going long. Also, what's really interesting is both gold miners, GDX, and XOP or oil equities, for 2 weeks in a row, those candles have looked almost exactly the same, despite underlying price differences, or price action, I should say, in both gold and oil. So I'll talk about a plan of how I'm going to deal with that when we get to those charts. Really interesting stuff, but I think we're going to do really well. Okay, so ready? Let's talk charts. Whoop. Okay, so first of all, let's start off by looking at the ES weekly chart. Okay, so you can see that last week we came down and tested the top of this bull flag almost perfectly within 2 points, guys. What? I know. So that was Wednesday, and I even tweeted, I said, bulls really do not want to see price action back below this, right? So anytime you go back inside of a flag, not the most bullish thing. And in fact, price action did bounce. And so ES is the strongest of the three indices. You'll see when I talk about NQ and the small caps what I'm talking about. But for now, price action bounced off of the top of the bull flag and even got back above this redemption support that we identified last week. So for this week, the next sort of support below is 4452. That's probably going to align pretty darn perfectly with that 50 MA. And then below that, the top of the bull flag next week, it's a little bit lower. It's 4417, and that may also align with that 9 MA. And so then from a resistance perspective, 4544.50. However, if we get back inside of this bull flag, I'm gonna say it's a very high likelihood that we will hit this 4380 level, okay? And that's very similar to that martini level that I've been talking about on the hourly. Let's look there. So remember this triangulation that I talked about? Well, it's sort of turned into what looks like a bear flag on the 1 hour ES chart. So the measured move of this bear flag, if it were to break out, would put us even below this area. But so I'm looking at 4479.25 as sort of the level to watch on the hourly there. Below that, there is some support here at this 4467.5 area before we get into this. But I do believe that if we get below this area and if we get inside of that weekly bull flag, then this 4380 to 4386 is a very likely target on ES. And that is where I will definitely take some profits. So let's look at NQ. Not as bullish looking at all. So we're below 2 out of the 3 MAs there. And you can see that instead of just back testing and bouncing the top of this flag, we pretty much closed right near the lows here, slightly below this key level from last week. And so not the best looking candle in the world, but the top of the bull flag, the top of the bull flag is 14496.25. So if we bounce early in the week, that would be a place that if I weren't already short, I would consider potentially adding to my shorts or potentially taking a short there, you know, with a whatever stop is reasonable for you. And then back below this 14361 and potentially trail any profit from there on. But there isn't a whole lot of support here below this MA until 13899.25. So, and I think this whole range here from 13837.25 to 13899.25. It's a high likelihood that if we get down here, I do think we'll bounce, at least initially, right? Because you've seen this line before. It's held pretty well in the past. So I do think that that's an area to consider flipping long if you are short, or taking the long if you're not already. And then below that, it's not going to look so great, okay? I don't want it to get up. Well, I mean, it's not, I don't, it can, right? But if it does get down here again, I think that's going to, that first of all, that'd be a huge red candle. But secondly, I don't think it would hold for long, even if it held this next week. Okay. All right. Let's look at small caps. All right. So we're still inside of the middle of this bear flag here, and on the weekly. And so really, I don't have a lot inside of this flag to reference except for these MAs, so I'm watching those as potential resistances. And then the bottom of the flag is 1948.2. I would expect that to show some support, at least initially, you know, kind of one of those boops. But if we break there, then there's another support at 1906.5 before potentially gravity takes over. It will be super, it's already not bullish looking, right? Pretty bearish looking actually, but below this 1906.5, even worse. And then I don't really have anything until 1715, and it could go there quickly. Now, on the other hand, if we manage to get back above these MAs here in the middle of this flag, I have 2112.2 as sort of a key pivot. And you can also see it's a crisscross of lines here. It's the top of the bear flag, and it's also a down, you know, really close to being another down channel line. So I would expect this to have a lot of resistance, but that would be next after if it could get through these MAs. All right, now let's look at Bitcoin. Okay, so what in the world? So we broke out of this ascending triangle, but we couldn't quite get up to the key before we came back and lost this. Look how perfect this orange line is. We lost this line and then just couldn't get back above it. Even though we back tested the triangle and bounced once, just did not have the momentum, which is why I was kind of bearish a little bit early, because I was thinking that Bitcoin would come down with the market here and then we'd go back up. I was thinking this would be perfect, right? But instead, anyway, for now, we are holding the triangle. So for Sunday/Monday, that figure, the bottom of the triangle, is 42051.6. I would really like to see it hold there. Can it go a little bit below? Yes, it can, as long as it recovers this line. But it's not going to look super bullish if that happens. So we want it to hold there. We wanted to get back above 44300.6 and get all the way up to this key again. We want that to happen. All right. Otherwise, if it sort of starts to get in this area, then it's a high likelihood, I think, that it'll come down to test this 35676.7 line, which would still be a higher low. It would just be like, come on, let's go. All right, now let's look at Ethereum. It's a little bit less interesting looking because it's just in the middle of this huge range here. I don't see a lot to talk about. Could this be a mini bear flag? Yes, it could. It's possible. But for now, it just, you know, it just looks like consolidation and chop. So I'll keep that in mind. But really not a whole lot to talk about until it gets over here or under here. All right, so let's look at Doge. Okay, so, oh boy, it just could not hold this key level once we got above. And my target, though, if it held there, was this 19 area. But the good news is, potentially, this is a an inverse head and shoulders, right? This looks like it could be. Is it the most beautiful one? No. Is it perfect? No. But if we start to turn here and we start to hold this orange line, this time from the upside, then it's potentially going to get some momentum to go back up. So for Sunday/Monday here, we'll want 0.1356 to hold. Okay, that would be great. Now, and it's at least starting to get these MAs curling in the right direction. The price action is beginning to get above the MAs. It's above the orange line. All we want is just forward moving progress. Doesn't have to all be sunshine and candles. Wait, Is that right? I don't know. Anyway, let's look at gold. Okay. So this is GDX, gold miners. So last week I talked about this being in sort of a triangle. So we broke out of the triangle and then came back tested, got back inside here, and it was like, oh no, but we came back again. So as long as price action is above 39.43, it is bullish, okay? Even if it comes back and tests this 38.31, that would be okay. But if it gets back under this 38.31, then I think there's a high likelihood that it's going to come back and test this fire extinguisher line. That would also coincide with the 9MA, and that would be 37.34. So above here, bullish, we don't worry about it. Back below here, these are the levels that I am watching. Okay, so let's look at gold. All right, so we are also triangulating for gold, a bull pennant, if you will. I tried to draw in a bull flag last week, and I just couldn't make one fit. But this is good enough, I think, for us to look at and have more granularity. The sort of level to watch still is this 1926.1 area above a very bullish. So even if gold opens flat, and this 1944.4 area is the border of the triangle, so this will be very good. We just want it to sort of open here and stay above this area and just get going, right? I don't have a whole lot of resistance on the weekly until this 1986.8 level. Now on the 4-hour though, I had talked about this being a potential bull flag, and oh boy, the price action just rocketed up at the end of the day there. So this is a breakout. Jack, don't make those noises. I don't know if you can hear those noises. But anyway, so the breakout target of this bull flag is about 1973 or so. And above that, we have the Martini line at 1991.8. Now he's mad at me because I won't let him make disgusting noises. Anywho, now if price action falls back into this flag, then below this 1939 area again, I think that's going to probably mean we're going to again backtest this 1926, and it won't look quite as bullish, okay? I also outline some levels down here that I am watching, just in case. I don't know if anything will happen, but just in case that we do get some sort of downward draft. I always like to have in mind, just like for equities, if something were to happen, where will I buy my favorite things? So I do the same thing for gold. I'm looking at my favorite levels to buy things should things go, for whatever reason, quickly south. Let's look at silver. All right, same deal as gold. Kind of a short week in terms of the range, but it's still within potentially this really sort of narrow bull flag. So really it's just time to gain some energy here, some momentum. And even though we closed below this 24.945, which is a key area, it's looking pretty good right about now, okay? We just needed to get above this key and then specifically above this 25.395, and I think we're going to have a really good shot at hitting this 26.375 area. Okay, so let's look at XOP and oil. All right, so this is the oil weekly. You can see that, wow, what a huge downdraft we had 2 weeks ago. But look at the oil equities. Really, they closed near the top of their range. I mean, they weren't up for the week necessarily. It was close. But they closed near the top of the range and also right at resistance, even though we had this huge red candle. And then last week, we had another red candle. This one not so extreme, and we closed back above this purple line. But equities closed even higher, but this is another dragonfly doji, not my favorite thing to see. So who's lying? What does this mean? I don't know. But I do know that if we follow each of them level to level, that is our best option for success. I think it's our best alternative. So above this 99.03, oil is bullish, and I think it's likely that we will back test this 101.29. If we get back inside of this triangle, then I don't have a lot until this 107.34, and then this gap up above. Now, if we were to go lower from here, if we were to open flat even, this 99.03 is in resistance, and then we have the area we're watching here is again this gap before usually things will either bounce inside of the gap somewhere, not completely fill it, or if it tries to fill the entire gap, it will usually go a little bit lower. So we'll be watching this 89.23 area, which probably should align with this 20 MA. So it sort of depends on what happens first here to start the week. Now, it is possible that oil will go up and the equities will go down, as opposed to the opposite way where oil went down and the equities went up. So we can't really count anything out. There's a lot of strange things going on right now with price action and commodities as well as equities. So we just have to keep both of them, watch them together, but keep both of them separate and keep our pivots separate. And I think we'll be able to navigate this really well based on our pivots. So within this, the XOP, however, basically same thing as like for GDX, above 138.47, bullish. Now, I do not have any targets above that because this was my measured move. This 138.47 was my measured move. So I'm going to have to wait for something to form before I know what's going to happen. And in situations like that, I like to have a trailing stop on if I am long, just so that I will be able to keep any profits that I have. And if we do come back down here, I'll be able to buy it lower if I so choose to. Now, if price action gets back below here, then I have this support at this previous gap, or this gap at 125.19 to 126.03. And that should coincide actually with the 9 MA, and then below that, the top of the channel, which is 122.03. So that's what I'm watching there, and I'm just leveling to level on both of these, and I'm trying not to think too much. I think thinking too much it's one of those situations where it could get you into a little bit of trouble. All right, let's look at NATE. Now this, usually I just look at the weekly and I don't look at the daily here, but I thought I would just show you. So we were very close to resistance last week, but we shot above it, and this is a really high momentum candle, given the fact that usually when you shoot above, usually when it tries to shoot above levels, it leaves these huge wicks. We didn't get a huge wick last week. So it's possible, because it would be the most tricky thing that Natty could do, is it's possible that it will come down and test this support, which was resistance, and that for the weekly is 5.924. If not, now the measured move from breaking upwards out of this channel is now 7.191. But I'm watching for it to come down here, and specifically there was a gap left last week. So on the daily, that is 5.708 to 5.766. So I'm watching that as well. If we are to come down here, I will absolutely consider trying to go long what I've already sold here, either at this 5.924 area or in this daily gap. Okay, let's look at Joe or coffee. Okay, so remember I talked about this being, I published on Twitter the chart, I talked about this being a better back test than the previous one, and sure enough it was, because now we've got some, at least some upwards action. We finally closed back above the 9, although barely, but for next week it's going to be super interesting, because the top of this gap is also the top of the channel, so that's going to be double resistance, 64.8. So if Joe can get back above 64.8, superty, ooperty bullish, in my opinion. However, it is going to be tough for it to get back above that, because not only that, but we closed at RSI resistance last week. So we'll have to see if we can sort of skip above it, maybe, you know, a gap up here, come down, and then try to just take out this previous gap. So that's what I'm looking at for Joe. And as if we can get back inside of this channel, then absolutely this this measured move that I've been talking about forever of 77.07 is, in my opinion, a high likelihood, as long as we can get above there. All right, that's it. Let me make myself big. Okay, thank you so much for liking my videos and subscribing to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. And I will see you on the interwebs. Okay, bye.